All right, everybody. Happy to have you here on a Thursday night. It's Thursday. It was a chilly day. Overcast, misty, rainy, kind of, for the first half, and then it was just overcast, and then the sun kind of broke toward the end there. But what a cozy night with all the rain that was here. We left here last night. It was just kind of like sleeting and stuff, but we're getting through. We're getting through. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. I'm going to have my Valentines here with me from 7 to 9. That's right. We're not going out on a Friday night. We're going to go out on a Saturday night instead so that we can do a radio show together on the Friday night. And we'll have some burgers before we come here or something like that. I'll be very hungry by then. I'll be ready to eat. But I'm happy. I'm happy to be here tonight with all of you. And we have a couple of great guests coming on here tonight as well. In the first half, Tony Arterburn, my friend from Wise Wolf, Gold and Silver, and the guy who set up QuiteFrankly.gold for me, is going to be on, because I not only want to talk to him about the latest from DOGE, I want to talk to him about a really interesting thread that was published a day or so ago about what is an influx of gold coming into the United States and the theories behind what this might mean. I want to talk to Tony about what he believes gold and silver would be revaluated at and all that other stuff. It's going to be an interesting first half. It really is, because, it's good to talk precious metals and finances with Tony, but he can rap on anything. So that he'll be joining us soon. In the second half, we have Lauren Conlin coming back, our pop culture and true crime reporter friend. Well, she has a couple of exclusives that are really interesting. Not only was she reporting on this latest update on Wendy Williams, who, Wendy Williams had the documentary done on her where she was like, it's just like neurodegenerative stuff going on. I already know, was it a stroke? Is it dementia, early onset dementia? What the hell's going on? Apparently she has recovered greatly, and it was all because of alcohol. And now and she's trapped inside of a apartment, and she's trying to get out, and she's you got to see this. It's interesting to me, not only because of the turnaround, where I thought that this was just the end of the road for her, just as far as life. But, she was one of those early whistleblowers on Diddy and everything like that. So I want to ask Lauren what she thinks that's all about. And then she also has an exclusive interview that we're going to be airing tonight after the latest episode of, Jay Gulanello's podcast that's going on after this in his normal slot. Right after Jay Gulanello's latest episode that is going to air on QuiteFrankly.tv after the show ends, you're going to get the full half-hour interview that Lauren Conlin just had with Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer. Very interesting stuff. I have a couple of off-the-top-of-my-head questions I have for her on that. It should be an interesting first half, just as interesting second half, and a lot of stuff in between. So that's what we're doing on this 13th day of February 2025, and I'm glad that you are along for the ride. And yeah, that's all I got for you on that. I have another thing just to throw out there. Update on the Keto Brainz mailing thing. Apparently, those 36 people who got the oversized envelopes, and 32 of them or so were sent back. They were sent back automatically. So the post office sent them back, which I was very happy to hear, because then we can just resend them out. Everything's fine. But it makes it also strange that a couple of people were prompted to pay for the $3.85 of postage. So again, the whole thing is strange why it was so selective, but everyone has been made whole, and all of our samples should be there for you soon. And let me know how much you love it. I also had a post office worker get in touch with me and say, Frank, I've had to actually do, on rare occasions, those postage transactions with recipients on the other end whenever something was put in wrong. I think that's just weird. That is just weird. But I guess if you don't have contact with the sender, you could at least hit up the receiver. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of it from the post office standpoint. Very odd, but all of it has been taken care of. I'm very happy, because this is a very happy thing for me to bring on a sponsor like this, especially in a month like this. I can't wait for Film Club. But we're going to get around to all that sometime soon, maybe tomorrow. And for tonight, I have some other things for you. Number one, the baby birth thread. I really want to include this on tomorrow night's show with Lauren in with me. I really think it'll be a good thing because, you know, babies, new life, love, families, Valentine's. I think that all kind of goes together. So you go to the forum tab on QuiteFrankly.tv and get in there. Baby births in strange places. Tell us your birth story. Your unconventional birth story, that it happened in a barn, under the moonlight, during your hippie days, like our first caller that called in with that. And then also when you're on there, go to the Quite Frankly newsletter fan photo submissions. We would love more of you guys, wherever the hell you are in the world, to submit a photo with a little bit of a caption and information of what's going on there, a wonderful life moment, a recent trip you've been on. Let's show in the March edition of the Quite Frankly Bulletin. We just want to show people what's going on in the life of average Franklies out there and people who enjoy the show from all over the world. So please be a part of it because the fan features are really something special. And that's why the bulletins have so much substance, because it really includes us all. All right, on Rumble made a big signing recently. They brought on Tim Pool and Rumble. I want to thank Linda Love out there. Really nice, wonderful friend of the show. And Linda said she went to bat for the show as Rumble put out a tweet over here. Dan Bongino, Steven Crowder, Russell Brand, Dave Rubin, Donald Trump Jr., Greenwald. I mean, she went through all the cool kids at the cafeteria table. I like my cafeteria table. I'm fine with not being in that list. It's okay. And I know it's not the biggest show on earth, but it's great to have people like Linda out there. And I know she represents many of you who were one of the, well, not one of the first to comment, but definitely up there. She said, Quite Frankly is the best nightly show with news and entertainment, show where everything's possible and anything goes. Also, Frank has the best community of like-minded patriots in the chats. So, Linda, hat tip to you. Just thank you so much. That was so sweet. You're a doll. Anyway, that's how I wanted to start that whole thing off. And now we get on to other things, which is RFK. RFK, he's in the big seat now. He is the head of HHS. And the real question is, what is he going to do first? Well, we have a little bit on that over there at Politico, so let me get it up right now. On Politico, Senate Make America Healthy Again caucus readies legislation as RFK Jr. is confirmed. Throughout his confirmation process, Kennedy focused on the need to address nutrition and food systems to improve the country's overall well-being, a reframing of the usual health policies debates in Congress. Yeah, it's an actual health policy debate. It's an actual health policy to talk about nutrition, you know. The Senate's Make America Healthy Again caucus, formed to back the policy goals of incoming HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., was readying legislation as Senate confirmed the nominee Thursday. Senator Roger Marshall from Kansas, founder of the caucus, described a package of bills as he was going to vote to confirm Kennedy. He said the bills sought to improve the nation's nutrition and agricultural systems with a focus on soil health, regenerative farming, and reworking the dietary guidelines. Oh, Jay Guladello is probably like, stop it. Stop it. You're making me. Randy. Regenerative farm. The soil health thing is, I can't wait to hear about that. Are we talking about glyphosate? Are we talking about the pesticides, the things that are allowed to, I mean, this is huge. This is huge. Focusing on soil health and things like that is actually one of the real reasons why polio is gone. But we do need to prioritize and organize, Marshall said of the caucus's legislative plans. Marshall didn't share a firm timeline for submitting the legislation, but suggested Congress needed to move quickly on the MAHA agenda. It does. Throughout his confirmation process, Kennedy focused on the need to address nutrition and food systems to improve the country's overall well-being. And he was backed by a movement of MAHA supporters who argue the health system should focus on nutrition and exercise more than pharmaceutical solutions. Senators said that they saw the power in MAHA's movement, which flooded their offices with calls and emails urging support for Kennedy. Did you hear that, everybody? There is a Make America Healthy Again caucus that was moved in at least some significant way into action because of the calls of citizens. And you know what? I'm going to just start calling the offices of Republicans, representatives in other states, and pretending to be constituents, because I don't have any representation over here. I guess it doesn't hurt to call up a Maha caucus kind of a person or a Liberty caucus person from another state, just to say, hey, you know what? I don't have any representation in New York. Go get them. Go get them. You're doing God's work. Anyway, that's what we have on there, and let's see what he does with the biggest and best chance in his 70 years of life to leave a real lasting legacy of his own on this country. And he is in a position to do more for this country than anyone in his family thus far. I will go as far as saying that. He has more famous family members, but if he does what he's sworn to do, he'll outshine every appointment, I believe, that Trump has made, no question. And not to say that everybody, other appointments can't go and achieve greatness, but the DOJ can't make the kind of impacts that we're talking about here with when you correct physical health of future generations. As I've said in many recent shows, if you have your health, you have nothing. So the same thing goes for a collective nation's health. So to prioritize the opposite of the sickly creatures that we saw at the town hall meeting in Worcester, Massachusetts last night, which is essentially the poster children of a big pharma death cult. It's great to be swapping that out. It really is great to be swapping out those priorities, because that's just death. And hey, maybe Maha Caucus can actually legislate on a mandatory 1:42 p.m. nap time. That's right, a 1:42 p.m. nap time, because that is apparently the best time to take one. Study finds, what's the best time for taking a nap? If you ever wondered about the best time to take a nap, researchers have found the answer is 1:42 p.m. This is oddly specific time emerged from a new nationwide study that looked at how Americans nap and what makes some people better nappers than others. The survey, conducted by Talker Research and commissioned by Avocado Green Mattress, found that most people aim for a 51-minute nap, which could have them waking up at 2:33 p.m. But here's a catch. Napping too long can leave you feeling worse than before your eyes close. Oh, yes, I know about this. And it's all about different cycles. All about different cycles. Like, if you can't confine yourself to a 20-minute power nap, then I forgot what I learned in the past, that it's actually better for you to shoot for... Oh, there might be another stop-off point before 90 minutes. 45, I don't know. I have to get this down again. The study found that naps lasting longer than an hour and 26 minutes, about 35 minutes past the perfect length. Okay, so an hour and 26 minutes about 90 minutes is about the perfect length. Okay. They enter what researchers call the danger zone. At this point, you might feel groggy, disoriented, instead of refreshed. And if you're still sleeping after an extra hour and 44 minutes, that's no longer a nap. You've drifted into a full sleep session. But anyway, as far as 1:42 in the afternoon goes, I don't know. The study's finding that 1:42 p.m. is a perfect nap isn't just a random number. It fits right into expert recommendations. Quote, I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is napping too late. Bach explains. If you nap in the late afternoon or evening, it can mess with your nighttime sleep. Ideally, napping before 3 p.m. keeps your sleep schedule on track. The benefits of well-timed nap are clear. 55% of people in the study said that they felt more productive right after waking up from a nap. However, there's a concerning trend. The American surveyed only felt well rested for about half of an average week, suggesting that many might be using naps to make up for poor nighttime sleeping. Yes, I can see that. And as you all know, if you ever had a child, crazy thing, but if they sleep really well in the middle of the day, they actually sleep a lot better at night. So you would think that too much sleep would just make it impossible to sleep at night, but a well-timed nap is actually going to help you, just like working out earlier in the day can help facilitate good sleep as well. So we'll see what Congress can say about that one. All right, everybody, let's jump right into the show so that I can set the table for our guest. We still have about 7 minutes before he arrives. Thank you so much for joining us. Share the link wherever you're watching this, to wherever you hang out on the internet, whatever cul-de-sac you hang out in on the internet. Please share the link, whether it's live or on demand. I'd love to introduce myself to all your friends and family and even your enemies. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
That man. Can somebody tell me what kind of a world we live in where a man dressed up as a bat gets all of my press? This town needs an enema.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's
And Aurora, I told you that I signed Aurora up for T-ball. This is going to be so great. All my friends at the league, I said, hey, got in touch with my friend Bob. All my board member friends, I said, Aurora's 4. Is it time for T-ball? I forget. They said, it's time, my friend. I said, okay. They said, are you going to be coaching? I said, nope. No, I don't do babysitting. When she's 10, then maybe I'll stick my nose in there and I'll become an assistant and all, and I'll get myself back in there. But no, for now, I can't watch 10,000 kids run for the ball and everybody just, it doesn't resemble baseball yet. It's essential, early education. All you early education teachers out there, I know how essential you guys are. That's like base programming. I just can't do that. I don't have any I don't have any time and I don't have any patience, but I can't wait. It's going to be great. Anyway, okay, let's see. First thing I want to show you all, we're going to get some things that are happening right now going around. And I think the first one I want to show you is, I don't know, it could be a little bit of a ray of hope on the Gaza comment situation that Trump delivered to us last week or the week before. For those of you out there who were praying that this was some negotiating tactic, there is at least a little bit of evidence to support your theory today, although more observation is necessary. Here it is. Scott Jennings shared this excerpt from the Wall Street Journal today. Quote, Egypt has launched a diplomatic blitz to corral support for an Arab-led and funded initiative to rebuild Gaza Strip, setting aside old political concerns in hopes that boxing out a Trump plan that is wildly unpopular across the Arab world. Arab states that had once hoped to use their funding capacity to push for a Palestinian state are now under pressure to prevent a mass displacement of Gazans that could destabilize any countries pressed to take them in. So I'm going to be cautiously optimistic about that one. Were his extreme comments about Gaza ownership just to poke and prod regional powers into action, like some of you had assumed? I hated the language across the board, but you know what? If it turns out that this is really the end that it was meant to serve, we're going to see. Because there was a lot of things that, aside from saying that, there was other things that were said in the same time frame that just didn't make any sense. So, for example, like, how can you own something but at the same time say that we're not going to put any money or military presence into it? How can you own something that you actually don't invest in? So maybe it was just extremist talk that, as was reported in the Wall Street Journal here, has gotten a diplomatic blitz led by Egypt to corral support to not only put funds into building everything up over there, but to not displace all. And it also makes sense now. Didn't Trump make comments about all of the Palestinians who would have to be removed, that probably that may not want to come back or anything like that? That can all be a shot across the bow too. I'm just trying to make sense of it. Okay. Our worst fears can be realized, but that could have all just really been a shot across the bow at neighboring Arab states who don't want to have refugee settlements in their places. Now, the real question is, if they go and do that, they're going to have to all hold themselves in check with Israel as well. And that might actually hold Israel in check if so many people from the region start investing over there. They're not going to want Israel to level the whole damn thing again just because they said some terrorist ran into an apartment building somewhere in Gaza, so they have to level the entire country. So I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there because there's a lot of you that called in, or a few of you that called in, and many more of you that commented, Frank, calm down. This is all a negotiating tactic. Based on this excerpt from the Wall Street Journal, you have some evidence you can point to now. So we will see. But in other news, Donald Trump, President Trump did call Justin Trudeau Governor Trudeau today, which was funny. It wasn't a mistake. He just, bullshitting, called him Governor Trudeau. And then there's this. Ah! I didn't mean to do that. And then there's this. DOGE officials have entered the IRS building in D.C. to begin their investigation into the agency, reports Nick Sorter. This comes after ex-users overwhelmingly voted for DOGE to dig into the IRS just days ago. We, the people, are in charge of our government again. So the audit has begun at the IRS. Now, this has gotten... Ed Krasenstein is the biggest brother-humping gimp on the fucking planet. The biggest on the planet. I'll jump into this one later because I don't want to take any time away from Tony Arterburn. He's starting.
The sheer stupidity of those pushing to shut down the IRS is mind-blowing.
I love it. Take it all down. Take it down. Take it down. Oh, I can't believe it. It's like a dream. In some respects, it's really like a dream. But we'll talk about that later on. Because I'm just... oh, man, please. Blowtorch. Blowtorch. That's what I say. Donald Trump also said this about the Department of Education. He says, a big con job. Take a listen to this.
Look, the Department of Education's a big con job. We're ranked, so they rank the top 40 countries in the world. We're ranked number 40th, but we're ranked number one in one department, costs per pupil. So we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world, but we're ranked number 40. We've been between 38 and 40. The last time I looked, it was 38, and then I looked 2 days ago, it came out the new list. It came out at number 40, so we're ranked 40. Norway, Denmark, Sweden, I hate to say it, China, as big as it is, it's ranked in the top 5. And that's a primary competitor. We're ranked number 40. So if we're ranked number 40, that means something's really wrong, right? And I say send it back to Iowa, to Idaho, to Colorado. Send it back to places that, and there are a lot of Indiana. You have a great new governor. You have a great senator that Jim Banks just got elected.
So listen, I'm glad he's saying that, but it doesn't matter what he says or what everybody else, I believe we should forget what you believe. The Department of Education has to go. Not allowed. Denmark, Norway, they're doing better. China, well, listen, whatever the hell is going on over there, we have states that are much bigger than Denmark and Norway. And all of those states have every right and all the power and authority in the world to invest in how they provide for and what education for their citizens and curriculum and everything else, go for it. Go for it. That's just what it is. That's the sovereignty here. We are a union, just like Europe is a union. Now, as far as China goes, that's their own deal as well. I mean, they're a much bigger operation out there. They are a lot more authoritarian, at least outwardly authoritarian, and proud about it. But the other thing that they're proud about is their culture, and they prioritize that. So whatever money that they are putting into education out there, I don't know how the system is set up. They're certainly not pushing transgenderism and social sciences up the ass and all that other stuff. They're getting down to brass tacks. They're getting down to applied sciences, math, making children literate, as well as afraid of their government. So, I mean, there's a lot going on here. There's so much happening. So much happening. And you know what? I think that it's a good time to bring in a good friend of ours. He hasn't been on the show in a little while, but he is really something, a good conversation on all things, but especially on the financial front, because there's so much of that we have not touched yet. That is Tony Arterburn of Wise Wolf Gold and Silver, the man who set up QuiteFrankly.gold and has now become probably the primary source of so many audience members' precious metals investments. Many of you purchased your first ounces of silver through Tony. And Tony, welcome back, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Frank. Thanks for having me back.
It's really an honor. It's really an honor. You having fun?
Absolutely. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And I love what I do. Every day it's a new challenge, and history's happening actually faster and more rapidly than I had expected. Just the unfolding and cracks and fissures in the global financial system are becoming more and more apparent. So I'm glad to know I wasn't crazy all these years talking about this stuff, because it's happening now.
No, you weren't crazy. There's a lot of people who were saying, well, keep your eye on the bouncing ball, because there's going to be a transition into something new. I guess the question I've asked people like you for a long time now is, who do you think is going to be in charge of that transition? Is the new boss ever going to be different from the old boss? And what are the most positive outcomes that we can hope for? And we're going to get around to that in the second half of our conversation here tonight, because that's when you and I are going to read through this really interesting gold thread. I sent it your way. Did you get a chance to look at it?
Yes.
Okay, great. That'll be awesome. So let me ask you first. You and I cover a lot of ground when we get together. You're always very financially focused. What are your general thoughts on the DOGE audits and the reports so far? I know it doesn't have the permanent teeth of congressional legislation behind it or anything, but man, oh man, has the skirt been lifted up in a very unflattering way for the bureaucracy.
Well, personally, I think it's a positive. You take a 30,000 foot view and say, yeah, it's not the way we've always done business, but Congress, the House of Representatives is in charge as the purse strings. That's its constitutional duty, and it's abdicated that duty over the years. It's given it away. It doesn't have the oversight that it used to, so it's not doing its job. And so if a third party comes in, I mean, I thought the whole DOGE concept was a little silly at first, and Vivek Ramaswamy was supposed to be a part of it. He bailed on it. So I didn't even think that they would go forward with it. But apparently my brother sent me over a Substack article that Elon Musk had retweeted, and just detailing how people were waiting in the parking lot of these government bureaucracy offices right after the inauguration, going in and plugging in and downloading and seeing the financial transactions in real time, and just the tech aspect of it all, being able to capture the financial transactions, where a lot of that stuff just gets lost in the layers of bureaucracy. So look, it's not perfect, and there's questions abound about the technocracy and the motives of the PayPal mafia and all this stuff. But hey, look, the people know. That's what's most important. I thought, Joe Rogan said something today. He said about Elon Musk, he's like, he's got like $400 billion. He doesn't want any more money necessarily. I don't think he's trying to show you where the money's going. So a benefit of the doubt at this point on that stuff, because we wouldn't see this if there was another Harris administration. It wouldn't even be talked about. But we go $1 trillion in debt every 90 days. It took us 200 years to get there the first time. And so I think, the whole financial system and our way of life, the monetary system itself, it's going to be completely reset very soon, and because of the mathematics of it all, Frank. And so, look, if we can get a hold of at least expose the American people to where what the actual numbers are and where things are being spent, all the better.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the whole thing here. That's why when you see all of those who are wailing and screaming the loudest right now, they're trying to scare people into saying that, well, all of these micro audits that are going on right now, actually, there's nothing micro about them. All of these audits that are going on right now are targeting citizens and their information, which is obviously, I mean, I don't see any of that going on. They're upset that their lifeblood is being exposed, and what government really is, and how it doesn't have any interest in actually doing the work of empowering the civilians, being independent of that government, of that system, and always being begging and dependent and just mooching off of it. I did you see this really incredible exchange between Maxine Waters and Jerome Powell at the Fed?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's watch that. We have to watch this 48 seconds together, because there's so much here that we can talk about. Let me get you up on screen with me. Here, everybody, is Maxine Waters talking to Jerome Powell, trying to get people at home, whoever's watching, scared of what Elon Musk is doing to them. It's really all about her, though.
When Musk comes knocking at the Fed's door, you gonna let him in?
I don't have anything for you on that.
And of course, why doesn't he have anything for us on that, Tony? Why would you say? Because there is no relationship between the Federal Reserve and the federal government, or any part of it, that they can't just say, get the hell out of here. They have, over the year, how many times over the years have they asserted in very public, boisterous ways, we do not care what the president of the United States at the time has to say. We are a private entity, and the government has no sway over us.
That's right. And Jerome Powell himself, he reiterated that not 30 days ago or 45 days ago about President Trump, or President-elect Trump at the time, removing him or replacing him or putting pressure on him. He said, that's not in my charter. It has no authority over me. He was pretty defiant. Yeah. And that's the Fed, when it shows its teeth and it's what it really believes, and it has to play a game, and it's played that game since 1913. Oh, we're federal and we're a reserve and we're here to help and balance the monetary system and control, the financial system, make sure there's no financial shocks or downturns or depressions. Well, they caused the Great Depression. I mean, Ben Bernanke himself admitted that. So no, they when they are backed into a corner, they show their teeth, and that's exactly why he answered the way he did. He's like, Elon Musk has no oversight over me. We're not a government agency.
Yeah, well, he was a little bit more mum than that. He was like, oh, I don't have anything for you on that. But let's continue. Here's another 40 brilliant seconds from I don't know. She's just a galaxy brain as far as intelligence goes.
Would you like to tell us today that you won't let DOGE into the Federal Reserve or have access to the systems and the data?
So I don't have any, we've had no contact, and I don't really have, I have nothing for you to report today on that.
Well, you know what happened at Treasury, and you know what happened over at the CFPB, and the people of this country are being violated because all of our privacy is being taken up by Elon Musk and Trump, and we don't know what all they have on us, our bank accounts.
Now she's talking very forthright when she says we don't know what they have on us. Our privacy has been violated. She's not talking about you and I, Tony. She's talking about her and her colleagues.
No, she's talking about the magic money tree, the modern monetary theory, and Keynesian economics, and of course the deep state. It's their mother's milk, is fiat currency and the central banking system, and all of the intricacies that go along with that. I mean, it's money laundering, it's black ops, it's non-oversight. It's the reason that Donald Rumsfeld lost $2.3 trillion and couldn't account for it on September 10th, 2001. I mean, this is why we have the problems that we have since 1971. It's made it even more apparent because we're inside a real live monetary experiment, Frank. And this is filtered into every aspect of our lives, and especially the United States government on a federal level. It's completely out of control. So any sort of equilibrium that's being brought by Elon Musk or DOGE at this point is going to be fought. I really think had they had any idea or inkling that he would get access to this information, they would have done everything to stop him. I think they underestimated this. I certainly did. I didn't think that this was because the second Trump administration seems to be completely different than the first one. We lived through the first one. I didn't expect anything different. And this is, at least in the first month or so, is completely different.
I'm absolutely in agreement with you on that. And I don't know, I'm hoping that the pace keeps up, and I hope we continue to become pleasantly surprised. But I would say there's a cross section here where privacy, because she's talking about the privacy of the individual and the data that is being taken from all of us. This is the everyday person. That's what Elon Musk and Trump is after for some reason. There's an irony here, because especially with the IRS, this is where finances and privacy and all that comes together. We know when they're saying, well, this guy is showing up with his, these 19-year-old interns and they're tech wizards, and they have all their AI and all that stuff that's crawling through this to find out where all the money is going and who's really running the world with it all. And on the other hand, since about, I think, 2009 or 10, maybe even a little bit before, it's now been well known the IRS has already been using AI to audit us, to select us for audit, to review every tax return we sent in, even if we go to a CPA. That's not, they want to proofread all of our CPAs. It's not, that's how little trust they have in the average person, where they have sicked AI on us through the IRS to try to make sure that every billion that they can squeeze out of our couch cushions is getting into their coffers over there, that they are dispersing around the world to make sure that we improve tourism in Egypt, or some kind of a diversity stage play in Morocco, or whatever the hell else is going on that we're seeing right now. It's just incredible to hear them talking about privacy when we have AI looking through every penny that we report to make sure that the decimals are where they should be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the IRS, and the income tax itself is a political weapon wielded by the elite to make sure that we know our place, that we're the serfs, the new modern serfs, and they're the landed gentry, and they own everything, and we're not supposed to have upward mobility. That's the gauntlet that you have to pass through to have any chance of competing and maybe bringing a better product to market, or having a better financial system, or a better widget, or whatever it is. And that's been that way since we had the 16th Amendment in 1913, and went along hand in glove with the Federal Reserve. So this is good. Any sort of information that the American people can get that wasn't being exposed, and there's no congressional oversight. They were having the 87,000 IRS agents, Frank. They were just about to unleash them on the American people. I read an article a couple of weeks ago, and it may be just bluff, but Trump was saying he's going to send them to the border. IRS agents to the border. I mean, it's probably not true, but I like that. Or just not hire them at all. I mean, this is where we are. I mean, the income tax is a weapon. The financial system in itself is a weapon. And none of it's worked. The middle class is faltering. It's the largest wealth transfer in the history of mankind that's gone on in the last 5 years. We're in real trouble because this country can't survive without small business, without working class people, without having the American dream available to those, just everyday citizens like our parents and grandparents and their parents had. So we desperately need oversight. We need a reckoning. So this is good. It's not perfect because we still have to deal with you can't get too partisan on any of this stuff. You fall into a team sport. I just like when somebody does something well, whatever side they're on, if they're exposing the deep state and exposing corruption, I'm all for it. And I think on the chopping block ought to be the income tax. Absolutely needs to be abolished. It's not part of the American character. It's not part of our founding. It was brought to you in part by the world's richest people. Progressives and leftists, unfortunately, are brainwashed to think they're taxing the rich and eating the rich. And the matter of fact, the rich is the one that support the income tax. And if they think, my question to anybody who thinks that if the income tax is a danger to those who are controlling this country or the super elite, then why don't they abolish it?
It's
So
true.
the answer is they love it.
It's true. And I agree with you on the whole partisan end of this fight, which is why every conclusion I draw is elimination. Eliminate this, eliminate that, get it all out. And then my dream is that so many agencies and departments are closed forever, that they are sealed shut by acts of Congress that will last longer than executive orders. I want Trump, when he leaves in 2029, to close the door on the Oval Office for the last time and have the executive branch be so whittled down to nothing that an executive order doesn't even have any teeth anymore, because there's no more departments left to instruct to do one thing or another the way it was supposed to be. And that I love, because it means nobody has the power. You know, like you said before, people get into this, a lot of us get into this habit of thinking that equality, or, you know, making things right, is to pass the whip from the right hand to the left hand to the right, instead of just getting rid of the whip. And that's what we need to do. And I just hope that we're on that path. It's a big hope, but you got to have something.
You got to have something, and that's the point of the movie Gladiator, where Marcus Aurelius wants to hand it over the Rome to Maximus, you know, and make Rome a republic again. We certainly lost our way with the imperial presidency, and I would say that history doesn't really, I mean, if you look at it through the court historian lens, it doesn't tell the right story. You look at something like Richard Nixon. Nixon was driven from office by the deep state. He was the only president to ever resign. Yet there's a bunch of question marks hanging over that presidency. Why was the press unleashed on him and nobody else? And there's a lot of things. He went after the CIA, and he had plans to end the war in Vietnam and open China. All these things that weren't exactly on the docket for the military-industrial complex or the intelligence community. So there was really a soft coup d'etat that happened to us in 1974 when he left office, and the presidency's really never been the same again. It's run multifaceted by the deep state. And so, I'm not defending Nixon on every level, but I think that's what did happen to him in retrospect. Had nothing to do really with Watergate. And since that time, we've had a presidency that's hijacked, hobbled, and controlled by the deep state itself. And I'm surprised at this point, Frank, that Trump's taking on the deep state like he has, because he didn't do it in his first term. So, I use history as my guide, and I said, well, he's not going to do it again. So there's something happening here, and it could be just a facade. Maybe I'm just falling for it. Maybe I got the hopium. It is fun to watch. I like the stories of the 20-year-old kid showing up and plugging into the servers of these bureaucracies.
Oh, I know.
The hell out of people.
Oh, I'm telling Tony, we just watched a brain dead person. One of the real, I would say, what exemplifies how government actually manages things, how dumb government is, especially when it gets so big and bloated. The kicker with the whole exchange between Maxine Waters and Jerome Powell is that, over the course of her tirade, she reveals that she actually believes the Federal Reserve is a federal agency. She really believes it. Some people will gaslight you into believing that, but I truly think that she believes this. And Tony, this is why I tend to trust a 19-year-old with the name Big Balls more than I trust Congress.
Absolutely.
Some of them actually believe that this is a federal agency.
Well, I've been to Washington, D.C., and, I had my friend Congressman Ralph Hall. I ran against him. I ran for Congress in 2013, 2014, and he asked me to come up and help him on his last term. And, of course, his opponent was John Ratcliffe, who's now head of the CIA. They used to send me out to debate him. But I've been to D.C., and I've been around these people. And let me tell you, you need to be deloused when you're done. These aren't the smartest people in the world. They're not better than you. They don't know more. As a matter of fact, they're a lot like Maxine Waters. These are useful tools by the special interests that prop up these candidates. They're basically zombies in a lot of ways. Not every single one. You have a Thomas Massey, or a Rand Paul or somebody like that, or a Ron Paul occasionally. But it's a majority just button pushers, and they have no idea what's going on. That happens in both parties, where they ideologically, like you and I, are going deep into the issues and to the ideology. We have our passions and all that. You don't usually find that even in politics anymore. It's void of that. It's really vacuous when it comes to the intellect of these people. So no, it's not a phenomenon. They're mostly dumb.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's I think everybody at home is probably nodding in agreement with us. So let's get into this thread, because I want the last 15 minutes of our talk to really tear this one apart and ask some big questions that come from it. Here we go. It's from Matt Smith on Twitter at MATTPHEUS. Buckle up, he says. There's a massive move. And Tony, at any point here, interject. Just jump right in. You don't have to raise your hand. Just jump right in whenever I hit something, or else I'll just keep moseying along. There's a massive move happening in gold market that almost nobody is talking about. Huge physical deliveries, shortages in London, gold flowing into the U.S. at record levels. Someone with deep pockets is scooping up gold, likely the U.S. Treasury or Fed. Why? Well, the theory is they're preparing for a full-on gold audit, meaning they are re-shorting gold that they might have leased out. Once audited, that gold could form the backbone of a new monetary system. This could signal a seismic shift in the dollar's status and value. The end game, a major devaluation of the U.S. dollar to reset America's global competitiveness. Think back to 1971, Nixon shutting the gold window, or 1985, the Plaza Accord. This time it might be even bigger. Some might call it a Mar-a-Lago Accord. Tariffs are key. They aren't just about steel, aluminum, or stopping fentanyl. They're the cudgel to force other countries to accept a new currency regime. The U.S. wants to drive down the dollar's value versus the yuan, euro, yen, etc. to boost exports and domestic industry. Meanwhile, Trump's team is taking up a sovereign wealth fund. This means turning America's natural resources, mineral rights, and strategic assets into equity. Suddenly, the U.S. balance sheet doesn't look so terrible. But watch for inflation, because that's the plan too. Inflation crushes current debts, government and private, but it also punishes everyday people with higher prices. The bet is wages will rise too, thanks to new industrial policies like forcing profits to be reinvested in the U.S., a nod to China's model, ironically. And if it goes right, we end with a gold-backed or partially gold-backed currency, new capital controls, and a two-tier dollar, domestic versus international. The Fed could even get scrapped, replaced by something like stablecoin tech, but with gold in the vault. Wild, right? You have anything you got to say on that so far?
So reading this thread, my first thoughts were the dollar may not necessarily be reset to gold. What may really look like is happening to me, Frank, is that the world is supplanting the dollar already with gold. The U.S. Treasury and strategic planners are just catching up. This happened in 2021 at Basel III at the Bank of International Settlements, when they took gold from a tier 3 asset to a tier 1 asset. And the central banks around the world started, instead of hoarding dollars like they had since 1944 at the Bretton Woods Conference, they started hoarding gold. And that's really taken off. Since 2021, it's been all bets are off, massive orderings from central banks. So the BRICS system itself is not necessarily for the BRICS to have a competing currency with the dollar. It's for them to have a cross-border payment system that is uniform, so they can use gold as a way to pay themselves over through borders. And I think that's what you're looking at, what's happening with the dollar. This is my opinion. It's not necessarily they're going to just reset the dollar and back it by gold. And you're right, this thread is correct when it talks about inflation. They'll use inflation to inflate their way out of current debts. But at some level, they'll have to peg the gold to the dollar again in some way. And that's the open question. How do you even do that? But gold already has supplanted the dollar as the world's reserve currency. That is something that's not talked about. The dollar is the number one held reserve asset by central banks, but number two is gold. And it just supplanted the euro about 4 or 5 months ago. So this is all new. Since 2022, de-dollarization has been happening rapidly. So there's going to have to be some sort with, the sovereign wealth fund. All of this stuff's going to have to be on the table. And it may be that the United States empire has to recede. We have to draw up new lines. We have to get fiscally responsible again, because the alternative is a complete collapse of the dollar. It's a complete collapse of our financial system and our standing in the world. We are going to lose the world's reserve currency status. The dollar is de-dollarizing rapidly. Countries are moving away. There's nothing you can do about it at this point. Even war, it might stave it off for a little while, but the writing's on the wall. So gold already is the world's reserve currency. Then the open question is, what happens to the dollar? Is it reset to where it's put in so many ounces of gold for whatever currency unit or measurement of gold? That it has to be. Maybe it's a bimetallic system again. I don't know that we can, without some severe pain, go back to the way it was prior to 1971. And I would remind your audience, you couldn't legally own gold then. Franklin Roosevelt made it illegal for you to own gold in April of 1933. And it wasn't until 1974 that Gerald Ford made it legal for you to own gold again. So this is an open question. And who's buying the gold? I know that the Chinese have been buying gold off the book since the beginning of the century. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of good scholarship to say that the Chinese actually have more gold than the United States at this point, who was supposed to have the lion's share. We're supposed to have over 8,000 tons, but it hasn't been audited since the 1950s. There's some journalists and researchers that believe the Chinese, because they have 60,000 gold mines, they're a net importer and not exporter, that they have something close to 16,000 tons across the board between private holdings and corporations and the government itself. So all of this is going to be reset around gold. I don't think anybody really knows what's going to happen to the dollar. And of course, we still haven't ruled out central bank digital currency and CBDC, digital currency, all the stuff that goes along with that. But there has to be a reckoning eventually. It has to do with just mathematics and money velocity and things that, I would say I understand, but I'm just a paratrooper who likes books. So I like history. I'm not sure I could explain to you, something like Triffin's dilemma, which is, the economist Robert Triffin back in the 1960s testifying before Congress about this very same problem, which is what happens. We create all these dollars to stock these central banks to be the world's reserve currency. What happens when they're repatriated? That's the dilemma. So I think to solve that dilemma, what happens is repatriated, you have to reset the entire financial system, back it by something, and reinstall. I think the main thing in this entire thread, Frank, is trust. We've lost the trust of the world. We weaponize the dollar, and even Trump talking about putting tariffs on the BRICS nations who don't use the dollar or try to go around the dollar system, I think is still weaponization of the dollar by other means. So yeah. We are definitely in times of great change, and so this is an interesting thread that's brought up, and this would be the first time if truly the Treasury and the Fed were in collusion buying gold. This would be the first time since 1971, because they've been at war with gold since that time.
So essentially, because these competing or not competing, but these other currencies out there are stabilizing themselves, backing it by gold, it is actually forcing the United States in many ways, even if you're not philosophically aligned with the whole idea. But if you want to survive, you have to find a way to be able to make the United States dollar redeemable in gold again, so that it's at least on the same playing field as everything else.
That's right. I mean, We've been living in a real-time experiment since 1971. The average lifespan of a fiat currency not backed by anything is 26 years in history. We've doubled that. I think what's important to see is that once Nixon did that and he closed the gold window on August 15th, 1971, once that happened, the rest of the world followed suit. So there's 52 times more currency on Earth than when I was born in 79. And that's only increased the worldwide debt. So the world's addicted to debt, fiat currency, and fake. And that has to come to an end. It's $350 trillion in debt worldwide. There has to be, and look, the elites, whatever you want to call them, the Davos set, the lizard people, they like the term the Great Reset. They want to reset the system. So this is what's happening. the countries that wanted to get away from the West and the SWIFT system and the dollar hegemony have been moving to gold rapidly, especially in the last, you go back to 2009, the net gold buying by central banks, Frank, was almost zero. It wasn't quite zero, but it was right at it. And then after the Great Recession, when they saw what the Federal Reserve did to bail out the multinationals here and the banks here in just our country, they started to buy gold, and more and rapidly. And now it's just off the charts. And the Chinese have been doing it since the beginning of the century. They used the trade surpluses that they got from us to buy gold. And so I think that if you run the simulations and a lot more sophisticated, software and other things, AI, you talk about AI and the IRS, they have AI that they've been using, governments have been using for a while now. So they probably run the simulations to see like who's standing when there's a run on the dollar, who's most vulnerable, and those who are less vulnerable will be those who hold gold, and they can remonetize their currencies against it.
Yeah, let me just finish up this. There's only a couple more tweets, and a lot of what you just said is popping up here in these following statements. This is either a brilliant adult solution to an unsustainable debt spiral or a step toward a heavily managed non-free market system, possibly both. Either way, the message is something must change or the whole thing breaks, so they're doing it. If you're a regular person, holding physical gold is the hedge against collapsing dollar. Expect big changes in trade, currency rules, prices for everything. The move could be fast. The 70s had staggering inflation. This time might be more dramatic. Bottom line, prepare for a major monetary reset, one that's orchestrated, they hope, rather than chaotic. These aren't half-baked theories. You can see it in the gold flows, Trump's policy picks, the talk of sovereign wealth fund, and looming forced revaluation. Stay alert. Keep an eye out on gold, tariffs, and any rumblings about auditing U.S. reserves. Inflation is coming by design. The old system is toast. Time for what might be the biggest economic shakeup since 1971. Ignore it at your own risk. So, two questions, and I want to get two brief answers out of this because we're running out of time. We can push it past 8 o'clock a little bit here, but the last question is actually a little bit more time I want to give you. But the first two questions. Number one, how much mining do we do domestically of gold in the United States? And number two, revaluation. For we know what it is right now. We know that gold is somewhere around $2,300, something like that. What is it?
Gold right now is over $2,900 an ounce.
$2,900, and what is it for silver? It's usually hovering around 30 to 40.
It's 32 and some change.
Okay.
As of this morning.
So tell me about what we have going on as far as domestic mining. If that is like something that we can do and can do well, and number two, what would the actual value of an ounce of gold and an ounce of silver be if all things were made equal and it was not, deflated in some form by, paper or anything else?
That's a great question. I think domestically we have some pretty strong gold mining domestically, and it's clipped along for a while. And a lot of the gold miners that are domestic in the United States that are gold, I'm saying gold, not silver. The silver is the thing that's not really mined. I mean, there's some silver mining, but usually the silver comes to you as an ancillary byproduct of mining copper, of mining gold, of looking for rare earth minerals and other things. That's just they find some silver and they bring it out and they refine it. So to mine silver right now is just not profitable. The spot price isn't high enough. It's the most manipulated commodity in the world, and it's been that way for a long time since I've been alive. I think silver really exposes what's wrong with the dollar. It's one of the reasons why the Hunt family was deep stated back in the early 80s, late 1970s, early 80s, when they drove the price to $52.50 an ounce by buying up the physical supply. And I would mention that that's what really is the difference maker. The dichotomy is the physical form. You mentioned like paper. Paper's driven this price on precious metals crazy. There's no really way to see what the actual price would be without this paper floating around, because we don't know how much damage it's actually done. I've read statistics that for every ounce of silver that exists in the real world, in these markets, in these bullion houses, they sell 250 ounces. So it's like 250 paper contracts to one physical ounce of silver. And whether that's provable or not, I don't know. But I know that right now, what I think the black swan, I called it earlier, I was on the David Knight show, I called it you call it a black swan or a black dawn, because you've got, Donald Trump. He put these tariffs in place, and the tariffs are causing a lot of these big holders of gold and silver to repatriate to the United States, not knowing if it's going to be subject to tariffs. And so they're calling these contracts in a lot of these places that I think are going to be exposed for not having the amount of gold that they put out paper contracts against. And that is going to cause a price shock all over the world, not just in the London exchanges, but all over the world where gold and silver are being repatriated. We're clearly it's just an upheaval, Frank. It's an upheaval that I didn't see coming, because I knew there would be a variable, there'd be a tipping point or a trigger. But we're about to see, I think within this decade, for sure, we're halfway through the Great Reset decade. That's what I call it. And I think by 2030, the price of gold and silver will be much closer to what they actually are worth than they are right now. I even think $3,000 an ounce gold is cheap.
So that's what I'm saying. What do you think if the manipulation were gone? I know that you can only ever really ballpark it. What does your gut tell you? If the manipulation were gone, what is a dollar to silver ratio right now? USDebtClock.org, just for reference, they say that right now it would be $1,100 per ounce of silver, and it would be about $9,000 per ounce of gold.
That's about right. I'd say $10,000 an ounce.
Jeez.
Gold, easy. If you really were to put it up against the dollar in real time and how much gold is actually in supply, that's what you got to understand. Gold is not as ubiquitous as people think. All the gold that's ever been mined in the history of the world that we know was about 151,000 tons. And there's more steel poured in a couple hours on this earth than all the gold that's ever been mined. It's not as plentiful. It takes work to get it out of the ground. It's very costly. There's a lot of energy expended. And that's why it's one of the perfect monies in the world. It's not, it's not completely definable by numbers, but we pretty much have an idea of how much gold there is or how much silver there is. And silver is off the charts cheap. It's been manipulated so heavily, and I think to enrich a certain few. But I think both of those will be reevaluated. As a matter of fact, I'll make a prediction. I think that the gold and silver ratio will kick back in. And you can look at, the United States was founded at a 16-to-1 ratio. It's 17-to-1 geologically, supposedly, to silver to gold. But for some reason, it's like 88-to-1 with the spot price right now, which doesn't even make any sense. So we're just all over the place because of this fiat experiment. But I think that by the end of the decade, we'll be closer, I think, to the original, gold and silver ratio that history has shown us than we have been in the last 50 years for sure. And so that could put, silver. Let's say it's 10-to-1. It could be something like $1,000.
All right. So then I guess the last thing I'd say is.
Not investment advice, by the way.
Well, I understand that. But for the average person, by the way, I just retweeted that thread that Tony and I just covered. So if you follow me on Twitter, then you'll be able to go read that for yourself and pass it along to somebody else. So if you're an everyday person, then Tony, how aside from doing whatever you can to get out of debt, keep yourself healthy, just get right with God and everything else, what would you do? What are you doing what is Tony Arterburn doing in this situation? Are you just stacking moderately and just trying to keep your nose to the ground and not panic?
No, definitely never panic. There's a ton of opportunity here. Actually, there's a lot of, no pun intended, there's silver linings all over this thing. I mean, if you're listening to programs like this and you're getting plugged into what's actually happening and not being spoon-fed Operation Mockingbird, then you got a great chance at coming out the other side of this in a much better than you are now. And what you got to do is anytime that you are expending energy or work and you're getting paid for something, just make sure you're housing whatever value in something that's actual money. It's an asset, whether that's gold, silver, your own business, or, even things like Bitcoin. I mean, that's a whole other subject. But precious metals to me are money. They're just a way to house energy, and they're worth something outside of the monetary system. Even if there wasn't a monetary system, they would be worth something for their jewelry and medical and technological and all the things that they do. So it's something that's time tested. I would just say, look, the world's headed towards commodities. It's going to be a new commodity based system, which is going to replace the fiat system that has failed. And the fiat system is going to run itself into the ground. It's just mathematics.
Well,
so if you can stay ahead of that by investing in yourself and your own knowledge, and when you trade time and energy for something and you get paid, make sure you transition those fiat Luciferian bankster notes into something real.
And you know what? Listen, I have to plug QuiteFrankly.gold, because you were so great. Meeting you a few years ago and setting this up, it's something I always wanted to have in my little network over here for people, and I have been nothing but completely trusting of you and your integrity and your knowledge on the situation, your passion for the situation. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to buy any silver, even if it's just your first ounce of your life, every time Christmas comes around, I always get a nice load of silver coins from Tony, so I can just throw them in everybody's stockings, all of the cousins and the children of the family. That's my main Christmas gift. So I really appreciate all of your support in making this part of the Quite Frankly affiliates realm, and I really appreciate all of your your thoughts and the conversations we have on the air, Tony.
Well, I absolutely appreciate you and your audience. It's an honor. I love what I do. And, we've got QuiteFrankly.gold, and you also have the subscription program for Wolfpack. So even if you're just getting started, we have programs as low as $50 a month. We get you a subscription service. We send precious metals to your door. It goes all the way up to, we added a couple and more tiers too. People have been asking me about small fractions of gold. So I put a gold gram bar available, and we just do that because we buy them in sheets of 100. So we do free shipping and no fees on that. We just added that to the website. So you go to QuiteFrankly.gold, hit join Wolfpack, and you'll see all of that there too.
Do you still do the gold backs?
We do gold backs and orders for lone wolves and warrior wolves, which are the 50 and the 125. And then anybody in 250 and up gets actual gold bullion. So nice. It's hard to put. It's hard to do gold for under $130. So even the half grams, and they're hard to find. So I do the gold backs, which are 24 karat notes. That's the way we give the smaller tiers actual gold.
That's great. Well, thanks again, Tony. I hope all is well with you and the family, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Take care. You know what we'll do, ladies and gentlemen? Next time that Tony comes on, we will we'll keep him for a full hour, and for the last 20 minutes or so, we'll take calls. But I'm going to take a really quick intermission and set the table for our second half guest, Lauren Conlin, who has some really interesting updates. And I wanted to get this in because tomorrow it's going to be a family night, and I don't want to push it to next week. So a lot going on in this 2-hour set tonight, but I like it. Keeps you on your toes, and clock management is key. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
D13.
What's that? Oh, gee!
Night, Bobby.
Quite frankly, he's amazing.
All right, first one up is Stowstube. Thank you so much. This is QuiteFranklySuperChat.com. Thank you, Stowstube, representing the great state of Massachusetts. Speaking of Lexington and Concord, 250 years this year. Jay Britz, good day, sir. Great show. Thanks. Oh, anything for you, Jeff. Dean Reiner Art. This is from last night, probably right after we got off, because I didn't see it. I double-checked before we left. He said, Frank, thanks. Elon with his kid on his back was an absolute king move. Here we have a trailblazing able male with his young on his back as he describes the path forward out of the wilderness. Very ape. A symbolism Our animal mind recognizes before we do. That's one way of putting it. Damn. Thank you for that, Dean. I want to hear more from Dean. Definitely want to hear more from Dean. Good one. Let's see. I have thank you to everybody. We had a nice crowd over there on Rumble. Hey, everybody on Rumble. If you're not subscribed to the show, just hit follow, support it, comment after the show is off air so that I don't know how the algorithm works on Rumble, but let's get some, there's a lot of big names on Rumble now taking up a lot of space. Let's try to cut through the noise a little bit. You know what I mean? So thank you so much for your support, and I'm looking forward to rising to the top with all of you. Rook Castle says, "Amen, Frank. God bless Linda Love and all the Quite Frankly fam." Sean Joe, Tomcat NJ. Sean Joe again, Porpoiseful. Sean Joe just started gifting 3 months bronze tier subscriptions to people, and Valhalla grabbed it. Joe Elaine grabbed one. Oh, everybody's going for it. Rook Castle says, Elon calls for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and returning tax pay to your... Wait, hold on. Elon calls for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and returning taxpayer dollars. We'll see what that is. Simply sending good positive vibes, says Safety Net. High vibes to Frank and the Frankly fam. Thank you, Safety Net 820. Rook Castle comes back for another one. Says, we were almost a captured government and country. Corruption was just the beginning. Based on that thread that we just read, we're not out of the woods yet. But I sure do love the whaling. I love it. I love it. Maxine Waters is just that's just one example. Let's go back to the brother humper. Here is Ed Krasenstein.
The sheer stupidity of those pushing to shut down the IRS is mind-blowing. Without the IRS, who audits Americans? No one. Without the IRS, who bends us over and gives us anal probes? No one. This is not a parody account. This is not a parody. I don't know how human he actually is, but who? Why? Ugh. This makes the little kid in your class in third grade who, Miss So-and-so, are you going to collect the homework from last night? You thought you were going to get away with not doing your homework, did you? Well, no, because Ed's there. Without audits, who actually pays their fair share in taxes? No one. Good. Fair share. Fuck you, foreigner. Who are you? America was founded as a slave state? This has to be undone. Oh, I pay all my taxes because I don't want to miss a minute of my daughter's life or my own life, to be honest. But I'm waiting for critical mass on this. It's got to go away. Without income taxes, how does the government generate revenue to balance the budget? It doesn't! Stop spending. All of your spending, almost all of your spending is illegal. That's it. Sorry. It doesn't mean that you won't be spending this. Your respective states will probably be raising the tax rate there at home. The smarter states will find ways of making what money you generate in state to do things that are even better as far as services go for your citizens while saving money. I keep referencing to that one time that I had Larry Sharp on the show when he was running for New York State governor, when he was running for the governorship over here as a libertarian. I was blown away at his innovative ideas and how to actually create an in-state solution for in-state education and higher education as well. With the caveat was no federal money. He wanted to start refusing federal money on all of that stuff from the Department of Education. I really got to get him back on just to talk about those ideas again. Oh, but Ed wasn't finished. People need to think just beyond one-step consequences. Wrecking tax enforcement doesn't just hurt the government. It collapses the whole system. It collapses America.
Nope. You were almost right in that last little upchuck that you put out there, Edward. Okay? Wrecking the tax enforcement system doesn't just hurt the government. You're right, it does. Fantastic. It's not the real government. It's some mutant bullshit. It collapses the whole system. You're right, it does. But that last part, it collapses America? No. No. Because America was founded and went many years from the 18th century to the early 20th. To the early 20th without this tax system that you speak of. That would collapse America. So I get, well, was America in a constant state of collapse from 1783 to 1913? Constant state of collapse? Freak. How embarrassing to be this thing. And to think that he has an identical twin. The test tube babies from hell. Ugh. Fair share. Who's going to feed me fair share? There's no fair share. You want to know what the fair share is? Nothing. You didn't create this money. I'm not giving it to you. Ugh. Go ahead, AI. Audit me. I overpay. Return? There are no returns for me. Ugh. Anyway, so that's what we have. That's what we have, and we'll see where it goes from there. All right, so coming up in a few minutes, we've got Lauren Conlin coming on. Let me make sure I didn't miss her. Hold on a second. I just want to make sure everything is in line. Perfect. Great. We got Lauren Conlin coming on, and this is going to be an interesting one because she put this out. It's a 2-minute reel or a short that's on her YouTube. Take a look at this. Wendy Williams. Now, the Wendy Williams story is interesting in itself because, of course, you know, she's been trying to. If you don't watch daytime television and you want all your celebrity gossip and all that shit, whatever. I never watched her. My mother watched her, but I always pay attention when she would insinuate where some really bad actors were in the industry, and she was, you know, pretty forthright on what people like P. Diddy were all about and stuff like that. And then, of course, she started having all these what we thought were neurological issues, sometimes right there on television, where she would like faint and stuff like that. And then there's all these documentaries of her like really just spurging out, and it looked like early onset dementia and all that stuff. But apparently, she's doing really well right now. But she is essentially a prisoner inside of some kind of a housing facility. Look at this 2-minute clip or whatever portion of it we need to play to get the point across while Lauren shows up that Lauren put out not too long ago. Watch this.
Wendy Williams is locked in a room in an assisted living facility in New York.
For those of you who are on podcast land, this is a picture of Wendy Williams, phone in her right hand. She seems to be very emotionally disturbed. Left hand pressed up against the window of whatever apartment or place that she's in right there. And, you know, she looks like a prisoner trying to get out, but is out of options. I don't know, distress. Okay, but listen.
That's her. The only way I could interview her was to have a camera in the street because we can't get a camera in. She can't really have any visitors. She cannot go outside. She's been out twice in the last 30 days. She has no internet. She, and I think rightly, says she feels like a prisoner.
Are you allowed to go out?
No. In the last 30 days, I went out twice.
She is in a guardianship. And I got to tell you, Lauren, if you saw the Lifetime documentary on her when she was deep into alcohol a couple of years ago, it made sense to have a guardianship. Wendy is sober now. She is fine.
Now, wait a second. The one thing I don't get is that was the result of alcohol? I just don't get that. It just doesn't seem, that just doesn't seem right. But you heard her too, talking. You heard her talking there very clearly. So even just from that very short clip, she does. I mean, the only real thing I knew about Wendy Williams in the last few years is that she was in really bad shape, and there's documentaries being made on her decline, and I thought that would be really the last we'd ever hear of her, that she was just not functional anymore and in decay. But this is nuts.
I have spoken with her for hours and hours, as have many others, and everybody comes up with the same conclusion. She's back to the old Wendy. Yet, she's not only in a guardianship, it's a guardianship that has essentially locked her up and thrown away the key. She has been diagnosed with something called frontotemporal dementia. That's what Bruce Willis has. That condition never gets better. It only gets worse. There is a similar diagnosis called alcohol-induced dementia. That can get better. Wendy is an alcoholic, and she was deep into alcohol. But the fact is, when you look at her 2 years ago, she's gotten better.
Okay, so the whole thing was just mind-blowing to me. And I just, I wanted to bring that up. And not only is Lauren coming on to talk about that, but we also have another little something over here. Listen to this 1 minute. Listen, 1 minute of two. And this is going to, the entire piece of this, the entire 30-minute interview is going to be after the show, right after Jay Gulanello's latest episode. You have to check this out. But here's Lauren Conlin talking with, you know what, hold on. She's on right now, and I'll save this for the second half. We'll just take this one thing at a time. All right, like I said, here we are. We're hanging out on Thursday night. Lauren Conlin is joining us. We've got, a lot of interesting things happening. Host of Pop Crime TV on YouTube. Everybody's got to go check her out. She is woefully under-subscribed to. And Lauren, thank you for joining us, because a couple of things real quick. I just want to do the Wendy Williams thing real quick. Yeah. I did not know about this this dementia, alcohol-induced dementia. I thought that this was, I couldn't believe this. I thought that this might have been poison or something like that. What do you got on this? Because the first thing I think of, she's a Diddy whistleblower. She always had a big mouth, and that she was targeted in some way.
Yes, this is crazy. And I think also what adds to Wendy's sort of crazy look is her Graves' disease, which kind of causes inflammation of the eye. So it kind of has that look where her eyeballs are popping out. And that has nothing to do with the alcohol-induced aphasia or the, quote, dementia. But the thing is, Frank, it's really worrisome to think that a judge can pretty much sign your life away. She, at this point, it's been over 2 years since she's been in this guardianship, and she is completely fine seeming. She has been sober for over 2 years. I mean, or not 2 years, I believe it's just 1 year. But I mean, if you listen to her on The Breakfast Club, if you listen to her in her interview with Harvey Levin, she sounds perfectly clear and perfectly lucid. And it's scary. It's scary to think that, again, the courts have the ability to take away your money. They can place you in any type of care facility you want. And after she spoke out on The Breakfast Club, saying some things about Diddy, that's when her conservator wrote a letter to the judge. So, I mean, that could be just coincidental timing, but I don't really believe in coincidences.
See, a lot of people have thought with conservatorship, especially with Hollywood conservatorships, whether we're talking about Wendy Williams over here or Britney Spears is a famous example. A lot of people liken them to essentially CIA type handlers. And I was wondering about this in particular, because the one thing that just makes this so odd to me, and perhaps you can just give me a little bit of insight into this, was that documentary. I know that my mother watched it. Anybody who just wanted to see what the hell, because this was a real tragic story about her decline and just completely wasting away. Was there any mention of the alcohol's involvement in that documentary, or is this was just like, oh,
yes.
Well, okay.
No, the Wendy Williams, absolutely. I mean, they said at one point she had finished an entire bottle of alcohol. But I want to point out, Frank, that this conservatorship or guardianship started with Wells Fargo. So imagine your bank having the ability to be like, there's some large withdrawals that we can't explain. And these withdrawals were apparently Wendy's son, who she actually accused today and also on TMZ of really taking advantage of her and her finances. So, I mean, that in itself is totally alarming. But yeah, the alcohol, this is what caused her to kind of go nuts. And I live in New York City and I know people that have hung out with her and they said, yeah, she was an addict. She seemed crazy when she was drinking, but when she's not drinking, totally perfect, totally lucid.
So then obviously she was drinking through the entire making of the documentary then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, she's passed out on the set of her show before. Like, all of this is documented. So it's a bad look for her. However, that doesn't give a judge the ability to sign off on her life. And you know what? I feel like you should get reevaluated every 2 years anyway, right? I mean, why should a judge sign off and just lock her up and throw away the key? That just doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also believe, I don't know if you guys are familiar with, he's the celebrity trainer. His name is Harley Pasternak.
Yes.
I take issue with this guy. I don't want to say anything defamatory, but I feel like this guy, Harley Pasternak, he's trained people, talking about mind control, whatever. He's trained people like Kanye West. He trained Brittany Murphy, the late Mac Miller, and Kanye West. There was this episode he had where he was taken out of a stretcher from Harley Pasternak's house. And this is after Harley Pasternak threatened him. I don't know if you remember those texts. And yeah,
absolutely.
Kanye's insane.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I believe that Harley moonlights sometimes as a celebrity trainer, and he's really pulling some strings in the background. And I've done some TikToks on this. I've gone kind of deep on this, but I think this all correlates with Wendy Williams, Britney Spears, because sometimes I'm just like, okay, it sounds crazy. But then I'm like, is it crazy?
Well, didn't he work? I mean, I know that most of his on the books, on the books, professional, activity is about, Exercise science and all that stuff. But didn't he have links to Canadian Department of Defense?
He's from Canada, and he had. It's funny because somebody took it off his Wikipedia page where he did have some kind of training in mind control, and they didn't call it MK Ultra. They didn't say anything about that, but
it was like defense. It was like Canadian Defense Department type stuff.
Yes, definitely.
Wait. So you have a confirmed link between him and Wendy Williams, or you just think somebody like him?
I was just saying in general. I was saying these handlers exist.
Yeah.
Wendy's just happened to come out in the form of a lawyer. And by the way, the judge in Wendy Williams's guardianship case, there was an investigation into her, and they found that that 1 year she'd appointed like 60 guardians or something like that, and they had all donated to her Supreme Court campaign.
Okay.
I mean, as far as I know, she's still the judge. Her name is Lisa Sokoloff, and Wendy actually filed a motion today to get rid of her guardianship, and we don't know what's going to happen. But she also said she wants to get reassessed by doctors of her choosing now that she's sober. And that video of her God in the glass just banging on it, I'm just like, that could be any of us, Frank.
I know, and but that's the whole thing. The fact that it is a celebrity, it's always a lot more eye-catching. Obviously, there's a lot of people out there, everyday people that we never will know about, who are probably trapped in these conservatorships, who are essentially slaves to one court district or another. God knows. But there's always more questions here whenever you bring up somebody like this, who, of course, is very vocal about some pretty high-level corruption and, big stories that would come out down the line and actually validate them. So I wanted to ask about that. Here's a second thing now. Let's go cut away to about a minute of what you put up on your TikTok recently. You are talking, what is his name? Full interview with Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney.
Yes.
So
His name is Arthur Idala. It's also on my YouTube on Top Crime TV. But yeah, it got more views on TikTok.
All right. So let's listen to just about a minute of this. Here we go.
Okay.
Didn't kill himself, or was he killed?
No, he was killed. He was absolutely killed.
Okay. I mean, I don't know the answer to that question. I mean,
Okay,
I don't
so
know.
Do you think Ghislaine knows what happened, or does she have an idea of what happened to Jeffrey Epstein?
I think she has an opinion, but I don't think she knows.
Can you share her opinion?
I mean, I think it's been out there that she doesn't think that Jeffrey Epstein had the guts to kill himself. I saw him 2 days before he died, and he actually looked good, and he was in there with a couple of paralegals. But he had just lost either his second or third attempted bail. And I think he was smart enough to know, based on public knowledge and public reports, that he probably was going to die in prison.
But I feel like it's crazy that you have access to the woman that I believe has the power, essentially, to take down half the world. Can't answer this, I'm sure, but do you feel, or do you get the sense that she was threatened somehow? I mean, how does this woman sit behind bars and not say anything?
I don't know her that well.
Oh, listen. Okay. Okay, so let me just throw it on out there. You see, the guy. I think anybody who sits down with the lawyer who represents Ghislaine and who was with Jeffrey Epstein 2 days before he was removed from the chessboard, because regardless of what you think about whether he's alive or how he died, whatever, everyone has an opinion about this, but he's gone. Let's just say that. How did you? I don't know. He seems very dismissive. And I think a lot of people would be suspicious of that. Do you think he's just trying to talk with his eyes, or is what?
I mean, if you would have played that clip further, and if you go to the actual interview, I call him and I say, bullshit, you are full of shit. And, you know, he has to play it that way. And I understand. So I've interviewed him before. I know him from, you know, being out and about in the city. I feel like the more I hammer him, the better, I guess, he gets with his answers, believe it or not, because talk to me a year ago, I wouldn't even get that much from him. Okay. So I feel like if I continue to hammer away, there are little gems that I will be able to get. And, you know, Arthur just represented Steve Bannon. I don't know if you saw, he's the one that told him to take that plea deal, because he's like, dude, you're never going to get a fair jury in New York City. So Arthur represents, you know, I mean, Harvey Weinstein, he represents Roger Ailes. He represents a lot of, quote, tabloid villains, I guess. So he's got a lot in the vault, and I intend to get more of it, I guess.
And how did you land the interview? The first interview that you had, it's just, you said just from being out and about?
So I used to work at a radio station here, WABC, and sorry, I met a lot of people, so I texted him and got these interviews, and like I said, I plan to do more of that. And sorry if that sounded douchey. I didn't mean to sound douchey.
No.
But that's it. And also, like, he ignores me all the time. We're like, it's not like I text him and he jumps. It's kind of like, Lauren, leave me alone. I'm kind of busy. So
listen, I just don't know whether it's a poker face or whatever the hell, but I wanted to hear your takeaways. The entire interview that you conducted with him is about 32 minutes long. It's going to be aired after the show tonight, and I've been passing around the YouTube episode. Obviously you're tagged in the YouTube the bio tonight, so people can click through there. But you said that he made some comments about Harvey Weinstein. What were those?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because he's been in the press a lot about Harvey, and the judge actually told him that he needs to stop threatening the victims, I guess. And I don't know if you paid attention to the last trial, but he obviously got Harvey the conviction overturned, the 2020 conviction. It's going to wait.
You got it.
Rape charges. So it's like rape 3, which he tells me rape 3. I didn't even know what this was. It's really interesting. It's where a man should just know even if a woman is like nonverbal, he should just pick up on her cues that she doesn't want to do it. It was so bizarre.
Jeez.
But yeah, so he essentially says that this next trial, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be very difficult because of these experts. So he has emails, texts from these women after Harvey allegedly raped them or did whatever, of these women saying, "Oh, I can't wait for you to meet my mom, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, well, that's pretty damning. And he's like, not really, because then I'll have an expert come up and say, well, this is what a traumatized woman would do, and this is why. So he's very prepared for that, I believe. But Harvey, I mean, listen, Frank, he might not make it to the next trial. He is doing very badly, apparently. So they tried to get the trial moved up. Judge is like, go F yourself. And yeah, the trial will still be in April.
See, Weinstein is one of those instances where I really believe the people he's beholden to really do scare the shit out of him. But even in this weakened state, I wonder why aren't you dropping dimes on people when you're obvious? It's obvious that he's been dying for a long time here, but just like Diddy or Epstein, I feel like people of that status, as long as you stay in your lane and you don't become a liability, you will enjoy great privileges in that part of society and high society. And another reason why I'll entertain any Epstein theories, but I do believe that he's actually dead, only because I have not seen or heard anything that makes me believe he was not expendable. But I've been more open to it, but what's still, that's just some interesting stuff. I can't wait to watch the whole interview that you did.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for plugging it. And if anybody also wants to watch something else at 9:00 on the CW, I'll be part of this episode of this tragic case out of Oklahoma and Kansas. It's called the Kansas Moms Killings. And I worked really hard on reporting on that case. I'm not in the episode a lot, but it's a case that I feel very close to. So that is airing tonight on the CW. It's called Crime Nation.
Okay, on the CW, Lauren Conlin.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for stopping in. I know it was going to be a short little correspondence hit, but very interesting stuff coming out of your end of the internet the last couple of days. So thanks again for the time.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry to be out and about, but I wanted to join you. So thank you, Frank.
It's
Thanks,
all good.
guys.
Take care. Be well.
All right. Bye.
Well, so I mean, when I saw that, I said, "Wait a second, what?" Ghislaine Maxwell, lawyer. You watch it and let me know what you think. I mean, see, with just the reel she put out there, very dismissive, and she's right. At the end, that clip, she does say bullshit, you know something, whatever. But in context for the full 30 minutes, I'm going to be interested in that one. The Wendy Williams thing, okay, maybe it doesn't have any. Maybe it is just one person and their struggle with alcohol, and that person being famous and having a giant estate and people that want to control it and this and that. But there's always that thought. I just wanted to get an understanding, or at least a theory or something of what bigger implications could be there, just because of the nature of her work and who she had been willing to narc on in the past and what kind of problems she's had. So I started thinking, is it poison? Some neurotoxin or anything like that? Was it really self-inflicted with the alcohol? Perhaps it was. But damn, why? I don't get it. So I guess the misdiagnosis makes sense, because if it was just aphasia, then you'd stop drinking. Wouldn't you stop drinking anyhow? So interesting that she had brought up Harley Pasternak, even though there's no link for him to this particular situation. But whenever I hear about celebrity conservatorships, that's the kind of thing I think about too. Anyhow, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take a really quick break. When we come back, the last 18 minutes is all you. 914-200-0269. A lot happening in this one tonight. 914-200-0269. Give me a call. We'll be right back.
Howdy, friend. You looking for a message board? Go to QuiteFrankly.tv and enter the forum. Engage with official show topic threads or start your own thread. Get signed up. It's that easy. And it's not Reddit, so don't sweat it. For the forum and so much more, it's QuiteFrankly.tv. Yeehaw.
Well, Rosie O'Donnell's disgusting. I mean, both inside and out. You take a look at her, she's a slob. She talks like a truck driver. Rosie attacked me personally because I was very happy when her talk show failed. The other thing that failed, and this was a real monster, and everybody was suing her, was her magazine. Her magazine called Rosie was a total disaster. So I loved it. I gloat over it. I think it's wonderful because I like to see bad people fail. Rosie failed. I'm happy about it. She's basically a disaster. Well, she called me a snake oil salesman. And, coming from Rosie, that's pretty low because when you look at her and when you see the mind is weak. I don't see it. I don't get it. I never understood. How does she even get on television? I believe Barbara made a terrible mistake putting her on, and I think Barbara's probably paying a big price. If I were running The View, I'd fire Rosie. I mean, I'd look her right in that fat, ugly face of hers. I'd say, Rosie, you're fired. We're all a little chubby, but Rosie's just worse than most of us. But it's not the chubbiness. Rosie is a very unattractive person, both inside and out. Rosie's a person that's very lucky to have her girlfriend. And she better be careful or I'll send one of my friends over to pick up her girlfriend. Why would she stay with Rosie if she had another choice? She's trying to use ABC and The View to get even with me. But with me, we fight back. I'll probably sue Rosie because she doesn't tell the facts. As an example, I'm worth many billions of dollars. Now, she said I was bankrupt. I never went bankrupt. So probably I'll sue her because it would be fun. I'd like to take some money out of her fat ass pockets. I actually think they ought to look at her whole life and see where she's coming from because I think she's got some very deep-seated problems. Perhaps it should be Rosie that goes to rehab. Rosie is a loser.
Hold on. Let's hear the grunt, the famous grunt. Every guy out there knows this grunt. Every guy knows this grunt. Hold on a second.
Yeah, what a lucky girl.
Oh, man. I can watch. It doesn't matter. This movie's on anytime. I'm going to sit down and watch it. I will sit there and I will watch that whole damn thing. And you better believe I will. All right, let's see here. Let's take a look at the super chats and take some more calls. And 914-200-0269. Give me a buzz. Give me a buzz. Let's see. Hello, Kitty. Wow, I haven't heard from Kitty in a while. Hello, Kitty says, Happy Valentine's Day, Frank and everyone. Yes, I have been MIA. Dwayne and I are moving to a different state. Really? Therefore, things have been a little stressful. Love you all. Well, I hope all the best for you and Dwayne. Those two are a trip to hang out with. Got to hang out with them twice in Myrtle Beach, and they really are great. Good company. All the best to you both. All right, let's see. Over on Pilled, Brewbark says book club suggestion, Escaping from Eden, Paul Anthony Wallace. All right. As long as it's a novel, I'm willing to consider it. I don't want to get into anything that's nonfiction or a biography or a history book or anything like that. I like analyzing fiction. I like character arcs and development, and I think that's a really great exercise. But who knows, one day. Let's see what else we have here. Book club suggestion. Oh, okay, Eden Conspiracy. That came in a couple of times. Stephen and Lori says, great interviews. Thank you, Frank. Well, thank you. Thank you. Stoves Tube sent an entire sleeve of cookies again. Chips Ahoy. And there you have it. Okay. Well, that's all we have for tonight. And I don't, maybe I have a bottleneck over here with the lines again. But Poso for Hope over on Rumble says Rumble is now in the White House press room. I know it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and I'm very happy. Here's what comes to mind. I want to be on everywhere, and I'll always call YouTube it's just a miracle as far as how technologically stable and responsive and great it is. But it's so tragic who controls it. And I want to be everywhere, and I want everyone to be, prosperous everywhere, and just to be able to, on your own volition and your own gumption and everything else, go out there and hit people up. I wish that I was able to actually get an honest accounting of what my reach could have actually been on YouTube. And we're still doing okay over there. But, if it goes away one day, it's good to know that Rumble's on the rise. Though, even to put all your eggs in that basket, just don't do it. Don't do it. But I'm happy to be everywhere, and I'm happy to see Rumble at least leveling the playing field a little bit. Pill.net, man. I'll tell you, you want to get indie as it gets. And there's still some really great names over there. But as a utility, it's really wonderful. And it, especially for me, it has brought great life and versatility to QuiteFrankly.tv. As you will see, as this show ends in a couple of minutes and the after hours kicks in, it's wonderful. Really is. Cast to your television and watch some really great programming, starting with Jay Gulanello, Functional Human Podcast, new episode, which are always awesome. And then after that, you're going to see the full interview with that Maxwell lawyer, which I think you should take a look at and assess it and then send me an email. Hey, would you blow me? Says, I'm ashamed to admit I actually work above the table three times in my 58 years and had to file taxes. Latches incurred is how they get you with tax evasion. I actually work above the table above the table 3 times in life. Yeah, over the books? You mean under the table, over the table? Yeah, well, I work above the table as well. When you are a personal trainer, you can, you could take some liberties. You get a tip for Christmas or something like that and whatever. But nope, I don't fool around. I don't fool around until we finally get something done that's pro-American. We get rid of this damn system. All right, thank you so much over there on the Rumble Rants. You guys have been wonderful. Again, here's what we have going on tonight after the show ends. I'm about to wrap it up right now. Brought to you and engineered by John Carroll, the Functional Human Podcast, Episode 6. That's Jay and Daryl. You got to check them out. They're a great crew. Lauren Conlin interviews Arthur Adala, Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney. Truth Stream Media. The feds are arguing your money isn't your property now. Of course they are. Yeah. Of course. It's going to be a good one. Timothy Gordon. Trump's new faith leader is insane. So you gotta check that. GB News interviews Steve Bannon, and then an Art Bell kicker with Cody London Survival. That's a good one. The Cody London Survival episode, if it's the one I'm thinking of, I mean, he might have been on once or twice, but the Cody London Survival episode's great. So that'll be great for the late night. You're gonna like that one if you listen that far in. But we got a great lineup here for After Hours. We'll be posting the whole listing of programming on the Telegram, on the several chat rooms. We've got Gilded and Discord and all that. Thank you so much for your time tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And tomorrow will be wonderful because I've got Lauren, I've got Aurora, and we have so many things that we can do. There's going to be no shortage. I hope we get some of your calls too. So thank you for contributing in every way, shape, or form, and become a sponsor. The one, you know what Lauren was doing last time I saw her as I left? Well, she was actually eating with Aurora, but right before that, she was starting to put together all of the envelopes and writing out all the envelopes for all the people who are getting welcome packages as new sponsors. Okay? Now, for all of you old, long-standing sponsors, you can get, I'm still sending out free samples of Keto Brainz to all of you. All you have to do is get in touch with me. But for the new sponsors that come in for the rest of this month, you're getting movie themed, and Lauren designed it all. That's where she found the slap bracelets and the keychains and the popcorn bags and all that stuff. Sign up at any tier anywhere on QuiteFrankly.tv on the sponsor page, and we are sending out a wonderful gift package to you. And then Molly from Keto Brainz is sending you some stuff as well. And also, for those of you who are already signed up through QuiteFrankly.tv, through the Squarespace, make sure you email me. Respond to the welcome email. Respond to the welcome email with your mailing address if you actually want your welcome package. Gotta, that's like a voluntary thing. I don't want to just, dig up your address and send you something. Send it to me so I can pass it along to the 2 people who need it, and just let me know, because I want everybody having a good time. And here we go. It's Valentine's Day. Thank you, guys and gals. We will see you tomorrow. Get over to QuiteFrankly.tv and enjoy yourself tonight. All right? All right. Be good. Thanks again to Tony Arterburn and Lauren Conlin.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Quite Frankly is filmed before a live studio audience, and now our super chatters, starting with, Swamp Cabbage, says, here's for the cause. Thank you, Swamp Cabbage, a late bloomer there. Thank you, Swamp. Hello, Kitty, Stowstube, Jay Brits, and Dean Reiner Art. All the best to you guys. Thank you to my Rumble Ranters and all the gold pillars who are about to release the scratching, and I will be dumping out the treasure chest on D-Live as well. Good night. QuiteFrankly.tv for everything else.